Alright guys, in this video, I am bringing you 5 crazy predictions for AEW Double or Nothing. I did this last year for Double or Nothing, but this time things get absolutely crazier. Trust me when I tell you guys, some of these predictions may sound crazy to you, but they are very reasonable, and I think they absolutely could happen. I also have an honorable mention, so make sure you guys watch the video in its entirety. My name is Ango, this is Destination Pro Wrestling, and before I bring you the predictions, let's just talk about how big of a deal Double or Nothing is. Alright guys, so Double or Nothing is incredibly important for many reasons. It's the first AEW pay-per-view without a crowd, and quite honestly, Double or Nothing is a big deal for AEW because AEW has made it a big deal. The very first Double or Nothing was an incredible pay-per-view, and it basically set forth the expectation that Double or Nothing was going to be a major pay-per-view for the company. Thus far, AEW has stacked up an incredible card, but there are some areas where things can fall flat due to those late injuries that happened this week on Dynamite. If you guys want to know more about that, there's going to be a link in the description for a video. I covered that as well. But with that being said, we got 5 crazy predictions. This graphic is probably giving you a little bit of a tease, but we're going to break it down individually in depth. And I really want to know what you guys think. All right, guys, so for the very first prediction, I'm going to go pretty bold here. As you guys know, it's going to be Jungle Boy versus MJF. And this is a match that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. For whatever reason, a lot of people do not see this as a big deal. But I think this is a match that is very crucial for the card of AEW Double or Nothing. Because it is a card that doesn't have too much backstory, I should say. There's not a lot of stuff that's been put into this match. Obviously, there's a little bit, but when you think long term of AEW and their storytelling, I think they could do a lot more with this. And that's exactly why I love this match, because my prediction is that MJF loses. And there's a reason for this. Jungle Boy definitely needs the win, and more importantly, they got to start doing some more storytelling with these people that aren't in the inner circle or the elite. And I think AEW can use this match and this outcome to start telling more stories involving MJF, who is embarrassed, somebody who is shocked that he lost to Jungle Boy. Now, me personally, I think Jungle Boy getting the win here is very necessary. I think Jungle Boy is going to do this. He's going to shock the world. And honestly, I think the reason why this is going to happen is because now they really have to start building Jungle Boy up as somebody who is credible. His record, unfortunately, does not suggest that. But the good news here is I think Jungle Boy defeats MJF. It's going to be a really nice, surprising win. It's going to be a really good match. And on top of that, this is going to lead to something very cool later on in the pay-per-view, which this is the real moneymaker when it comes to MJF. Because he doesn't need the win, MJF is always the guy that is looking for attention. He is looking for spotlight. And I think with the inclusion of Mike Tyson, he's going to get that spotlight. So I believe Cody versus Archer at this point, it's going to be a very good match. I think Cody's going to win. I think there's an opportunity for Archer to win. Nonetheless, I don't really care who wins. I think both guys winning is important here. But whoever does win will be interrupted by MJF. Somebody who lost to Jungle Boy will now get the opportunity to have a huge moment on this pay-per-view. Yet again, this is a pretty big deal for MJF because we all know his instance with Bret Hart at the first Double or Nothing. So with that being said, MJF tries to steal the spotlight from the title, the new champion, right? And I think at this point, this is when AEW has Mike Tyson knock out MJF. And a moment like that is going to be iconic. It's going to be one of the biggest moments that you'll ever look back on when it comes to the career of MJF, because eventually he will be a big deal for the company. So even though he loses to Jungle Boy, he still looks incredibly big deal. He is going to be a huge deal, even bigger than he was before, due to this moment. He's going to feel cheated by Jungle Boy. There's ways to, go back to that. And then, of course, whoever he tries to steal spotlight from, obviously MJF eventually challenging for the TNT. Yeah, so this kind of opens up the bridge for a lot more to happen. So that's the first crazy prediction. Mike Tyson knocking out MJF would be really exciting, something I'd be really intrigued in. Number 2, Kenny and the Bucks turn on Hangman Page. So as you guys know, the Elite versus the Inner Circle. I love everything about this feud. But I think AEW needs to continue to build the Inner Circle as a really really big deal. And they've done a really good job of doing that. So I think you need to continue having them win, having them become dominant. And I think the best way to do that is by having Kenny and the Bucks turn heel. I think at a moment's time where maybe Matt Hardy is somebody, he came to AEW, he's helping the Young Bucks as a favor. I think this is going to be kind of nice because now you can pair Hangman Page with Matt Hardy sometimes as the baby faces. But having Kenny and the Bucks turn on Hangman is a really good idea because the entire time AEW has really told the story of Hangman Page being the guy to turn heel, and he's done a lot of things to look like a heel. But deep down inside, if you're an AEW executive, you know that Hangman Page is your baby face. A lot of people who compare him to Steve Austin. I think that can happen, and I think this is where the page turns. And I think we get closer and closer to making Hangman Page one of the top guys of AEW. So this moment where Kenny and the Bucks turn heel is going to be great. Matt Hardy's going to be shocked. He's going to be confused. Hangman Page is going to be confused. And I think the world's going to be confused. Love that. I love when AEW goes for swerves, and I think this is a very, very big and bold prediction. This way, Inner Circle can continue to look dominant. And on top of that, AEW can now tell the story of Hangman Page and really begin to eat his career. And let's be honest, Kenny Omega could really use the heel turn. And I think with AEW in this situation, with Kenny and Hangman Page holding those belts, I think they just outright vacate those belts. I think there's no way they could see eye to eye. They vacate the belts, and now you have an awesome tag team division that you have built up to crown some new tag team champions. I think it's the right decision. That's the way I would do it personally. With that being said, I do have an honorable mention. There's going to be a link in the description. If you guys haven't seen the video, I talk about Sting making his debut at AEW. I believe that will still happen. So that is a bold prediction. But I also think, based on the rumors and speculation that Sting is AEW bound, that video would definitely be a good watch for you guys because all this stuff with Inner Circle, all this stuff with, Elite, I think this still fits in that equation. So definitely check out that video. That will be in the description down below. Number 3, it's a very bold prediction. Brian Cage wins the ladder match. I'm not going to break this down too specifically. I talked about this in my previous video as well, so make sure you guys check out the link in the description. Brian Cage makes his debut finally 6 or 7 months after signing with AEW. I was the first to cover this. I think it's a really, really big deal. I think it is still going to happen. I think the plan is for Brian enter the ladder match and win the ladder match. So with that being said, make sure you guys check it out and let me know what you guys think. Brian Cage winning the ladder match, pretty bold, pretty big. But who is Brian Cage going to challenge? And I think he is going to challenge the new AEW World Champion. That's right, guys. Prediction number 4, I believe Brody Lee defeats Moxley. And I think AEW is going to do this to keep the world title the world title belt. The scene is going to be hot. And I think everybody knows that long title reigns, while they are cool and they are impressive, they are not entertaining. I don't believe long title reigns are entertaining in a show that is scripted. And I think when you look at AEW, Moxley is a very big deal, but it is a very real idea that Moxley can lose when you have 10 people from the Dark Order jumping you. I think AEW needs to keep things fresh. And while I don't like the idea of Brody Lee being a world champion, I think if it does happen, I will be intrigued because I want to see what AEW can do. I fully believed AEW booked themselves in the corner here, but I think Brody Lee beating Moxley makes a lot of sense. And this way, you can keep things fresh with the world title scene, especially if a guy like Brian Cage comes into the company as a babyface. He could be the next guy to beat Brody Lee. And this way, you don't have somebody carrying the belt for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months only for things to get stale. I think at the end of the day, you don't want to play hot potato, but at the end of the day, you do want to keep things fresh, and I think this is where you do that. I think Moxley loses very, very unclean. It's going to be a shitty finish, but at the end of the day, it's going to make a lot of sense storyline-wise because of how they've booked the order. And the last prediction, guys, saw the Revival on the thumbnail. You knew it was coming. The Revival, I do not believe, will debut at Double or Nothing, but I believe AEW will have an Easter egg to confirm that the Revival are now in AEW. FTR at some point should be shown on the screen, at some point shown some capacity at Double or Nothing. And I think the way AEW is going to do it, because they're all about intrigue and all about making people think and question stuff, I think we're going to see some very, very interesting backstage segment. Maybe it's AEW doing an interview with somebody. I don't know. But I think somewhere along the lines, FTR will show up at Double or Nothing. Whether it's them physically, a pet, or an Easter egg, I think we're going to start getting the announcements going. I don't think AEW should have the Revival wrestle right off the bat. I think they got to lead up to it. They got to make this a big deal. But I think FTR, the Revolt, aka the Revival, they have the ability to show up. I think it makes the most sense here. Guys, that's my 5 big, huge, crazy predictions. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you see one happening or not happening? I want to know what you guys think. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff in the description as well. Guys, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Let me know your 5 crazy predictions for Double or Nothing, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.